What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is The Bad Batch Season 1, Part 1, Episodes 1 through 8. And I'm going to be tackling this the same way that I tackled Rebels, which is essentially I'm going to watch the first half of the season, review it, watch the second half, review it. Because I just feel like there's not a whole lot in these episodes to talk about. So even if I did 3 episodes at a time, they probably would end up only being maybe a few minutes long. And I do want to, try to have more to talk about than just that little bit. So, but yeah, this first half of the season, it's a very good setup. I do remember a bit of the Bad Batch from watching the Clone Wars. It's been a long, long time since I've seen the Clone Wars, though. Like, probably at least 2 years, I think. Maybe it was only a little over a year ago. Either way, for me, with my brain already starting to lose itself for some reason, because I'm about to turn 30, I guess. I'm vague on the details. I remember bits of it. I remember the Bad Batch being introduced, and I remember thinking, oh, they're probably going to have a show at some point, right? Because they seem like such a unique group that they just threw into the Clone Wars out of nowhere. And so, sure enough, here it is. And I like the setup. It's a very fun setup. You just got these rogue clones after Order 66, basically on the run, and that's fun. It's kind of unique as well, and that's with the fact that a lot of these characters are kind of cliches as well. They still do a fun and unique job with these characters together on a team that I'm enjoying so far. Overall, there have been a few moments that have been a little put off or a little kind of like, okay, that was kind of dumb. But overall, it's been a lot of fun. So, first of all, just focusing on the team itself, like I said, I've seen these cliches done before. I've seen the leader who needs to learn to maybe tone down the seriousness and learn to be a bit more of a people person. The nerdy tech guy who maybe lacks a little common sense. The big beefy dude that also has a soft spot and also is a little dumb. And then you've got the kid who's clearly just out of her element but trying to be a part of the team. You've also got Echo, who is kind of the new one on a team. He's trying to learn some of the stuff still, which is interesting because I'm pretty sure he joined the Bad Batch a little while before Order 66, but it still kind of feels like he's the newbie in some of these episodes. But they all fit together very well. And what's also interesting is the fact that you've got the one kind of rogue member that maybe doesn't get along with everybody. We've seen that type of character before, and that's in this one it's Crosshairs. But what's interesting is they just go ahead and turn him into a villain right in the first episode, and not by his own choice, of course, because of the implants. But I didn't expect that. When they brought Crosshairs in and they started operating on his chip to increase it, I remember thinking, okay, but it's probably not going to work, right? Or maybe the Kaminoan lady is going to do it incorrectly and make him think that she's working with him. I had it in my brain that, yeah, he's still going to go back to the team because he's a part of the team. He's going to be that guy that maybe a bit of a rogue agent in the group, and he's not the most trustworthy, but he gets the job done and he does it well. I thought that's where that was going. So the fact that he comes out just straight up villain, completely controlled by the chip, completely working for the Empire, and now he is leading teams to try to track down his own team. I wasn't expecting that. It's kind of darker than I was expecting. It's definitely not the storyline that I was expecting this whole show to take when they first introduced him in the Clone Wars. And that's been pretty fun. That we've not seen a whole lot of him. He was in the first couple episodes, and then we didn't see him again until like the last couple. And even then, he only really showed up, I think, in the very last one. Now that I'm thinking about it, but he's definitely a very imposing threat. We can see just how much he knows this team, and that makes him a dangerous person to deal with for our team. So yeah, I'm really enjoying having him as kind of the main threat so far. As far as everything kind of going on outside the team, I like some of the world building we're seeing with the Empire starting to come to power. I like it. It's fun to see these early stages that we didn't really get to see before. We got to see Order 66. We got to see at the end of Revenge of the Sith some of the stuff that led to the formation of the Empire, but we didn't get to see the really early building blocks. This show is giving us a lot of that. Not just seeing some of the pieces that are being put in place by the Empire, Seeing Tarkin going around and starting to bring in stormtroopers, not just clone troopers. Not just that, but really how the Empire is controlling the entire universe. The way that they step in and say, no, 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 we're forming the narrative here. We're telling you guys what the truth is. The Jedi attacked, so we're here to protect you now. Now register into our system and make sure we know exactly who you are, because that way you're easier to control. It's a little scary because, it's not too far away from, I feel like, what we're starting to get to here, but that's a completely another topic for another day. But it's fun to see that. And honestly, what I do appreciate about the show is that it's not scared to go a bit darker. Honestly, there are a few times that this show has a bit of a body count, and not just clone troopers. Not just they're killing off sometimes innocent people. That one where Crosshairs is training this new team, they execute these innocent civilians. We don't see the bodies, we don't see them actually dying, but we know that's what's happening. Kids watching, they probably have even more imagination than most adults do, so they're probably really picturing something awful. That's in this show. And I have to appreciate that. I have to appreciate the fact that they're willing to go there, because that is some of the darker stuff when it comes to the Empire being formed. That is some of the stuff that they were willing to do to have that control. To show that they are basically have an iron fist on everything. They're not letting anybody rise up against them. This is the way you show that. By, hey, oh, you were working with them? It doesn't matter if you were helping them or not. They were giving you passage, you're involved with them, you gotta die. That's what dictatorships do. So, yeah, it's been kind of interesting in that aspect as well. But it's fun to see the Kaminoans. How are they involved in all of it? We see the fact that apparently they feel like they're becoming almost obsolete since they're moving on from the clone troopers. Also, the fact they even talk about that cloning process a little bit. First of all, we see the Bad Batch was not just mistakes; they were specifically cloned that way. They wanted to try to create clone troopers that were even better, and so their enhanced characteristics are not just, oops, we made a mistake. It was they were trying to do something where we have a more advanced, more enhanced clone trooper. I'm kind of thinking Omega is probably going to be that. Now, why she ended up being a girl, that is a little weird to me. Maybe they just decided, you know what? It's not working on his DNA. Maybe if we somehow grew a human girl and put his clone genes into a girl body, maybe somehow that will bring out the enhanced clone trooper we're looking for. I don't know. Obviously, cloning is a sci-fi science thing, so who knows how all of it works. But I'm assuming that's what she's supposed to be. She's supposed to be the perfect clone trooper, which is why she can control it sometimes, but not all the time, because she doesn't even know what she is yet. But it's been fun to see how the Kaminoans are so involved. And they even got the one guy, Cad Bane, I think his name is. And they had Fennec as well, which cool to see, Ming-Na Wen voicing herself, her own character. And it is kind of funny because she was obviously in The Mandalorian. I know she's in this now. And of course I'm pretty sure she's going to be in the Book of Boba Fett. So I'm about to have 3 Star Wars shows in a row where we see Ming-Na Wen in it. But yeah, it was fun to see how far the Kaminoans are willing to go to get this girl back, because I think they know what she is. I think they know how valuable this clone will be. But it was kind of interesting to hear that apparently the DNA that Jango Fett gave them only worked for so long. At some point they were it was either going to get used up too much or it was going to lose its efficacy. So it's interesting that, yeah, eventually the clone troopers would have just essentially stopped being effective. So the Empire, seeing that, decides to take measures, and it makes sense. So yeah, I'm glad that the writers seem to know what they're doing. They're not just throwing whatever and hoping it sticks. They actually have an idea about how to show a lot of these in-between transition period moments in shows like this. And they do it very cleverly. So as far as, I guess, the individual stories go, obviously first Crosshairs probably has the least amount of growth, but yeah, we see he goes from that, trying to hold back the chip, and it seemed like he was affected by it very early on in that first episode. So once he reaches that point where the chip is fully in control, just seeing him go to such a dark type of character was really, really intimidating. And I got to give props to, I think it's D. Bradley Baker, the guy who voices all of the clones. I mean, the way that he manages to play these 5 different characters with the same voice. It's crazy to me. Like, he's using the same voice but putting different inflections for each one. The only 2 that sound the same to me are Echo and Hunter, and that's just because they're the most normal of the group. And thankfully, Echo, obviously lost his arm, so that's the one way we can differentiate him and Hunter. But if you listen to Wrecker's voice, if you listen to Tech's voice, if you listen to Crosshair's voice is just amazingly intimidating for having that same sort of just the what is it? It's not Australian. I think it's New Zealand accent. Just that same timbre, but taken to a darker place. Like, just the way that it's very gravelly and down low. It's incredible. He does a great job with all these characters. But yeah, seeing Crosshair just be so efficient and so just straightforward with it all. He's willing to turn on an engine to burn them all alive because that's how badly he wants to kill them. It shows how driven he is. So I can't wait to see what else they do with him going forward. Omega, she's been okay. I've definitely seen more annoying kid characters in other things. She's had her moments where she's been a little annoying. She's been that kind of cutesy, oh no, I want to help, guys, I can help. It's gotten a little too much in a couple episodes, but for the most part, she's been fine. And it has been kind of fun seeing the team grow around her as well. I mean, obviously, her and Wrecker have that very similar to what we saw with Ezra and Zeb. Like, I like that sort of kid and then the big brute making a friendship and really growing as friends. It's fun to me every time they do it. So she's been okay. She's just probably been the weakest one for me, mainly because typically those cute little kid characters, they do get a little annoying at times. And yeah, the amount of times she's like, no, I want to help. I want to help. Like, you're a kid in the middle of a war zone. You need to understand that what they're doing is probably for your benefit. But as far as Hunter as a leader, I think they're really doing a good job of helping him grow, as far as the writing process goes, showing how he's turning from something that's just very, this is a war, we're in wartime. He realizes now it's not quite a war. It still is. They're still up against a threat, but it's not really a war. It's not one side battling another side of equal strength. It's more of a, we have to run. We have to be smart. We have to outwit our opponent because they have all the power, they have all the force, and they have so many more resources than we do. So it's been kind of interesting seeing that change in him and seeing him think about it less from a battle tactical standpoint and more of a, how do we retreat in this instance safely. So that's been fun. Tech hasn't grown too much for me. I mean, he's still kind of the same at the end of these first 8 episodes. He's still the super smart, not always catching the common sense of everything. He hasn't really had a growth moment. Most of his contributions have just been helping the team with all the technology and stuff. So not anything too special for him. I'm sure he'll probably get an episode focused solely on him in maybe the next half of the season, or maybe not until next season. I'm not sure. But Echo, he's had a couple of moments where you feel like he's still learning to fit in with this team because he wasn't really a irregular clone. He was a normal clone that had awful things happen to him. And I don't really remember his story from Clone Wars. I remember him joining the Bad Batch, but I don't really remember why all of that happened to him. So it might be something I have to look up just to remind myself for later. But I mean, overall, he's been a good part of the team as well, because you feel like he's looking at it from the mindset of he knows how the regular troopers think. He understands the mindset of the regular troopers, but he's also trying to grow into the group a bit more. And I guess, let himself go a little bit, not be that mindless soldier that most of the regular troopers are. So Wrecker, obviously, he's just had a nice bonding time with Omega, and almost become like that big fun uncle, that you hang out with and goof around and stuff. And yeah, he's been fun. The big story for him, obviously, being the moment at the end whenever the chip, him hitting his head enough times caused the chip to start to work a bit more, and it was kind of intimidating to see him go full rampage mode and nearly kill people. But I don't know, there hasn't been a whole lot from that. There was a moment of, I'm so sorry I did that, but ultimately, I mean, she knows and most of the team knows it wasn't him doing it. So it wasn't too much of a, I guess I was a little bit worried that there might be more of a, oh God, can we trust him? But it quickly moved on from that. So as far as some of the more focused stuff, we did have a few characters. Obviously, I already talked about Cad Bane. I really hope that's right. And Fennec showing up. We also had Rafa and Trace, I think their names are, which are the two girls that Ahsoka met in the final season of Clone Wars. I vaguely recognized them. It's funny because I didn't even recognize their names. What it was is the hairstyle of the one girl, the one that has like kind of the poofy looking hair. That's the only thing. I was like, oh, these are the girls that Ahsoka met. Okay, that's why they're supposed to be familiar to me. Obviously, we had Rex pop up as well. I don't know if we've seen Sid before, but she's been involved. I think it's a she. I don't know. It's a woman voicing the character, so that's why I say she. Which also, I think the woman, the actress, was in Cheers when I was looking at her IMDb. Her voice sounds very familiar to me, but I was looking it up and I didn't see her voicing any other characters that I knew, so I don't know why her voice sounds so familiar. But on the topic of voice actors, it is pretty interesting seeing all the different voice actors in this. We got Ben Diskin, who I know is young Xehanort, and a couple of other characters from games that I've played. He voices the little robot that Omega was working with in the first episode. I don't remember the name of the actor now, but I looked him up because Rampart is the guy working with Tarkin. I thought his voice sounded familiar, and it's hilarious because I've been playing Spider-Man 2, and I just got to the part with Mysterio. Apparently he voices Mysterio in that game, so that's... I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, I mean, his voice is very similar in both of these characters, so that's funny. Who else? Oh, this is one of the moments where, unfortunately, I mean, it was the very first scene, and it put me off a little bit. I'm like, oh no, this is not a good sign. Because we get to see little Kanan, who, what was his original name? Caleb. We got to see the little guy, whenever his master got attacked by the clones. And I do like that because we heard how that happened, in Rebels. And we know that's why he wasn't really trusting of clones to begin with. But did you really have to have Freddie Prinze Jr. voicing the little kid version of himself? I'm looking at this kid, I'm like, okay, he's like, what, 10, 11 maybe? And I hear Freddie's voice coming out of him, I'm like, nope. That's circle peg into square hole, that doesn't fit. Oh, that one was pretty bad. But everybody else's voices, they sound fine. There's been a couple of sound mixing issues I've noticed, which I'm not somebody that's super intelligent about sound mixing and any of that. I do recognize it though, so I do hear whenever the sound is a little off. And there were a couple times where it sounded like maybe somebody was recording. I don't know when this show was made. If it was made, I don't think it was made around 2020. I'm pretty sure, but it sounded like there were some people who, I don't know. It didn't sound like they were in a recording booth. It sounded like they were in, I don't know, some bathroom or something talking into a mic, because it just, a couple voices sounded a little weird. They didn't sound like they were in the scene to me, but very, very minor nitpicks. It was only a couple of the characters. So, but I think that's about it. It'll be interesting to see now that Omega's been taken by Cad Bane. I'm sure he was hired as well by the Kaminoans. So it'll be interesting to see what he, are the what is it, 99? Is Troop 99? What are they called? The Bad Batch. I'm just going to call them the Batch because that's what the show calls them. Are the Batch going to be able to go get Omega back, or are they essentially just going to be trying to track her down and trying to find out who's the one that hired the bounty hunter when we as the audience know? I do wish they had kept that maybe a little bit more secret, because you can kind of get the sense whenever you hear the Kaminoans talking to each other, you kind of get the sense that they're the ones that hired the bounty hunter right off the bat, because they're like, oh, we weren't able to get her. So, I don't know. I wish they maybe kept that a little bit more of a secret, so that way it's a bit more of a reveal. But, again, that's a minor nitpick. It's not bad. It's just, in my mind, if it was a secret and we didn't know who hired these bounty hunters, it would be kind of fun to find out who did. So, trying to piece together who might want to take the kid. But yeah, I think all in all, it's been fun. It's been a good start. It's got my attention. I'm definitely enjoying myself so far with it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of the season holds. So that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the first half of this first season? Let me know. We could talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Bad Batch reviews, and I'll see you guys at the second half of the season. Peace out.